that we would have bonded together by now, and that was the hope. That this seemed to be the teleology of the the human race or the American experience, is that we were heading in this direction. I wonder whether some of it is just generational. And part of the argument I make in my book that I co-wrote with a rabbi and with a Muslim scholar called How Millennials Can Get Us Out of the Mess We're In, is the argument is that we have become, the older generation has become very spoiled. And we are faced with, and I include myself in it because I'm a baby boomer, we're faced with the prospect of our own mortality and that we will die, and then things will change rapidly, and it's made many people hold onto the wheel ever so tighter.
Yeah.
And by not being willing to let go of the wheel, we have 78-year-old presidents, right? We have all of these people who aren't going to
live. More politicians than ever before.
Right. And these long-running, who've been senators for 6 election cycles and crazy numbers like this, because they thought once they got there, this will never be able to function without me. And it's this egocentricity that I think is indicative of baby boomers, and we just don't want to let go. And we want to somehow dip the country in a kind of lacquer, and just because we want to seemingly think we're going to preserve this forever and ever and ever, so that when we die, everybody will have to have it the way we had it. And all indicators are that that's not going to happen. And with every indicator that comes along, we just hold on tighter. And I think that's kind of where we are a little bit, is we're sort of stuck in this hyper individualism, which is just, I matter. Why don't people pay attention to my opinions matter?
When really the thing, and the last thing I want to say is, we talk about generations and the boomers and millennials and
now Gen Z.
I grew up in the 90s, and it seemed like at the time, to me as a child and looking back, that it was such a time of like peace, prosperity, of acceptance, of understanding, and you would think that my generation would have grown up and embodied those traits and those values. But I look around at the people that I know that are my age, and I see so much egoism and so much narcissism, and I don't know if that's a product of social media, if it's a product of everything having to be documented and shown all the time, like I don't exist unless you see me exist, so I have to do all these things for someone, and this constant need for validation. But it's
I think you're onto something, and I think what's interesting is that comes to you from perhaps what other people might consider to be a distant perch, and you see the same thing that the rest of us see. And I think that the kind of tribalism that we're going through, I am eternally optimistic, and I believe it's a phase. I talked about this with George Norrie when he was interviewing me about the book, and I said, there was a reason why Moses took a generation around the desert until they went to the promised land, is because they could not handle the promised land. These are people who had grown up with, they weren't ready, and they weren't ready, and they were never going to be ready. They had grown up accustomed to slavery. They'd grown up accustomed to idol worship, and much as they might have wanted to, they couldn't make the jump. And Moses didn't either. He died with him. Never saw the promised land, and I don't think I ever will either. I don't think I deserve to, and I think I'd like to think we could pull it out, and I'm optimistic. But I think in some ways, really, baby boomers have to go. They have to either give up the power and embrace being a role as mentors to the generations that are coming behind us, or we have to just live in our own little communities and talk to ourselves about how bad things are until no one pays any attention to us at all. Because I don't see us adding to anything right now. I see us hyping up the anger and the rancor that's out there. And I'm optimistic that as a people we can get better, and that we can use the technologies, and we can reach out to other people, and we can forget so many of these things. And yet I just don't see us getting there the way we're acting now.
What do you think, my generation, what kind of mentality do you think we need to foster amongst ourselves or try to help move forward?
Yeah, I think it's all about forgiveness and forbearance and optimism, and trying not to take things so seriously that every little thing has to become a bigger thing. I think your observation about growing up in a time of always being on, always being in, always being on Instagram or having to be somewhere to be validated, I think I think that's true of people your age and much younger. So I think something's got to give on that. We just, I'm not a Zuckerberg guy. I'm not a Facebook guy. I don't think all those things are helpful. I think we need better leadership. And I think we also need better self-restraint on what we're going to constantly expose ourselves to every day. If we can do that, I think there's hope. And we probably got to fish more.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I think fishing would help us all. No, I really enjoyed it. And I thank you for contributing after all this time of being a listener. Mary is in New Jersey on Coast to Coast AM. Mary?
Hi, Ian. I'm remembering my childhood, age 1 to 4. Somebody was making a movie. They were always making movies back then. And all the horses were lined up, and they were in Jerusalem, I assume. And this one man hops off, and this gigantic person gets on his horse, and he says, "You go do what you have to do, and I'll take your place," right? And he had set up a meeting with an Arab. I don't know how, but he was carrying a sword, and the trade was he gave him the sword, which was the flaming sword of the desert, in exchange for the shroud.
Is this a dream?
And then somebody said, "How do you know it's the real shroud?" And he said, "Well, how do they know it's the real sword?" So I was asking around, to my memory from way back, and somebody said, "Well, there is a book written about the sword that Muhammad had, gave it to one of his men, and he lost it in battle." So there is a book out there. Of course, I can't remember the name, and I can't remember the name of the battle, but it's all true. But,
okay.
Yeah, well, they were making that movie going in, they were in Jerusalem.
That's very interesting. I think we have time for one last caller, and I'll see when I get off the air if I can't find that for next time. Chuck is in Idaho on Coast to Coast. Speaking of good fishing. Chuck?
Hi, how are you tonight?
Doing all right. Got a minute for you.
Okay, I didn't call to argue with you, but I got to take a little bit of an exception with what you said earlier related to the hospital visit.
You can take whatever exception you want with the nurse who told them that. I don't know what you want me to tell you other than what happened. I don't know what exception you can take with me for relating a true story.
Well, what I'm trying to say here is we got to stop this. We're worried about all this. Who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated?
People die. People die. But if we can say all we want. We got to stop this. People die. And I don't want any more people to die. I'm sure you don't either. Right? So you can feel differently about it. I understand that. But I'm not going to stop being concerned about people dying. In fact, I had dinner tonight with a couple who lost an aunt. She was vaccinated. Older, went to a wedding, went without a mask, dead in 2 weeks, got the variant. Do with that what you want. But I'm not threatening people who haven't gotten the vaccine. I'm just passing along with another way of looking at it. And maybe that takes root, maybe it doesn't. But it's true. And it's sad to me because it seems needless. Like the kind of thing which we can look back on later on and go, maybe we could have done a little better on that. Coming up tomorrow night, I'll do a little better, I hope. Mary Roach, our main guest. In the meantime, Deus Te Amat, and I do too.
Most mortgage lenders charge a fee, sometimes up to 1.5 points for pulling cash out of your home's equity. Those points are on your whole loan balance, not just the cash you get. For example, if your loan amount is $400,000, that's a $6,000 fee. For a limited time, Owning will waive this fee so qualified borrowers can get a cash-out refi with absolutely no closing costs of any kind. Besides the usual no title, escrow, appraisal, etc., no fees for a cash-out on a 30-year fixed mortgage. So if you're in process somewhere and paying fees, call 8332-OWNING or go to owning.com, where our rate in APR for a no cash-out fee 30-year fixed mortgage is 2.75%. But hurry, the mortgage industry won't like this. So who knows when this special goes away? Call 8332-OWNING or go to owning.com.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Subject to credit approval. Call 833-303-2160 for terms and conditions. Equal housing lender.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded. Good morning, my early rising friend. I'm Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, custom home builder, custom home designer. Hey, you know what? It's just about 6 o'clock on this Saturday morning. That means for the next 2 hours, I'm going to be here with you as a friendly voice and your personal guide to turning your ordinary house into an extraordinary home. We are doing an all-calls weekend. Your calls. You get to decide what we're talking about today. Give me a call. Let's talk about your home. The phone lines are open. The number to reach me, 833-2-ASK-DEAN. 833, the number 2, Ask Dean. There's plenty of room on the board. Give us a call. Let's talk about your home today. This is KFI and KOST HD2 Los Angeles, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You can listen to KFI everywhere, like you haven't noticed.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Vaccine proof required. I'm Brian Bruman, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A health mandate will soon go into effect in LA County that will require certain businesses and events considered to be high risk to require proof of a COVID-19 vaccine. Health Director Barbara Ferrer announced the order yesterday.
This modified health officer order aligns with the continued need to reduce risk for transmission and increase vaccination coverage, and it offers us a reasonable path forward.
The mandate will apply to events with more than 10,000 people and indoor places that serve alcohol, such as bars and clubs. The mandate goes into effect next month. An FDA advisory panel says it's not recommending approval for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine booster shots. The panel voted 16-2 yesterday against the booster shots, but Dr. Peter Marks, who is a member of the panel, says the decision could change at some point because information about COVID is constantly evolving.
No secret here that there is still debate over the need for an additional COVID-19 vaccine at this phase of the pandemic.
Some experts on the panel say Pfizer didn't give enough information on the safety of extra doses. 2 people have been charged with multiple felonies for trying to pilot a special delivery into the Orange County Jail.
An inmate turned in a drone that had crashed and was stuffed with several grams of heroin, meth, and multiple pills.
And the investigation led to an execution of a search warrant.
OC Sheriff Sergeant Ryan Anderson says the pilot, who was charged this week, had an apartment and a BMW in Costa Mesa, both under fake names.
Investigators were able to locate numerous illegal firearms, including assault rifles, fentanyl, and a controller determined to be paired with the drone.
The co-pilot was an inmate caught on the jail phone trying to be air traffic controller for the drone. In Orange County, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
A 4.3 magnitude earthquake has shaken SoCal. The U.S. Geological Survey says the earthquake hit Carson just before 8 last night. Officials in Carson and L.A. say there hasn't been any major damage reported. The earthquake did lead to a controlled flaring event at the Marathon Refinery in Carson, but there were no safety threats to people in the area. The top U.S. military officer who called his Chinese counterpart towards the end of the Trump presidency says it was perfectly within the duties and responsibilities of his job. In his first public comments about the phone calls, General Mark Milley says they were routine and were done to ensure strategic stability. A new book says Milley called the Chinese general twice to assure him the U.S. wasn't going to suddenly go to war with or attack China. Apple and Google have apparently caved to pressure from Russia's authoritarian leaders.
The Kremlin has pressured Apple and Google to remove an opposition-created smartphone app that tells voters the candidates likely to defeat those backed by Russian authorities. The move comes as 3 days of voting began in Russia's parliamentary election. Russian authorities aim to suppress the use of smart voting, a strategy designed by imprisoned opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The authorities told Apple and Google to remove the smart voting app from their online stores and that they'd take failure to do so as election interference and hit the tech giants with fines. Mark Ronner, KFI News.
Border Patrol agents in Texas say they're struggling to process thousands of migrants who've turned up at the border with Mexico over the past week. About 9,000 migrants, most of them from Haiti, are camping under a bridge in the city of Del Rio. The Val Verde County Sheriff says Border Patrol can't process them fast enough, so there's a backlog of people camped under the bridge. We're looking at a crash on the 5.
In San Juan Capistrano, southbound side of the 5 at Ortega Highway. This crash with an overturned big rig and diesel still has had all lanes closed for quite a while. Watch for heavy delays starting at Junipero. Sarah, in Claremont, it's a fatal crash investigation now ongoing on the westbound side of the 210 at Town Avenue. All lanes there closed as well. Back up all the way to Mountain. You can use Baseline to get around it. And Fillmore on the eastbound side of the 210 from the 5 to Rockford. All lanes have been closed by Caltrans. They should be wrapping up this closure in the next little while, but in the meantime, use Foothill Boulevard instead. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robert Zabucky.
The cooler weekend has arrived. We'll have more next.
Last year, there was a victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. A criminal could be spending your money, applying for loans in your name, damaging your credit, or even selling your personal information on the dark web. Unfortunately, you could miss certain threats to your identity by just checking bank accounts and monitoring your credit. The solution? LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. LifeLock sees certain threats you can miss if you're only monitoring your credit and alerts you if they find something that could be suspicious. Plus, if you become a victim of identity theft, a U.S.-based identity restoration specialist dedicated to your case will work to fix it from start to finish. Now, no one can prevent all ID theft or monitor every transaction at every business, but LifeLock by Norton can help protect your personal information so you can keep what's yours. Save up to 25% off your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to LifeLock.com. Use the promo code HANDLE. That's LifeLock.com. Promo code HANDLE. 25% off.
Southline weather from KFI. It's going to be sunny but much cooler than last weekend. Highs will be in the mid-60s to low 70s at the beaches, low to upper 70s in Metro LA and OC, mid-70s to mid-80s in the inland valleys, and low to upper 80s in the Inland Empire. Right now it's 61 degrees in San Clemente, 59 in Hacienda Heights, 57 in Sherman Oaks, and 57 in Pasadena. We lead local, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Brian Bruman.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Good Saturday morning to you, my friends, and welcome home. I'm Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, custom home builder, custom home designer, here for you live like I am every weekend. Saturdays from 6 to 8, Sunday mornings from 9 to 11. Why are we here? It's a good question. It is a good question. Here to be an advocate for you as you wrestle with construction issues on your home. Here, absolutely, to be a design mentor for you as you take on the noble work of turning your ordinary house into something extraordinary. Why? Because when it comes to transforming your house, design matters most. It so certainly does. The team is assembled. We're here. We're ready. Misty, the boss, she is standing by ready to take your calls. By the way, it's an all-calls weekend. An all-calls weekend. What does that mean? That means you're in charge of the content of the show today and tomorrow. All you have to do is give us a call. 800. I started to actually say the numerical value of the name. 833. 833-2-ASK-DEAN is the number to call. 833 the numeral 2, Ask Dean. I'll say it one more time correctly. 833-2, Ask Dean. You know, to Ask Dean, you see how that, okay. So we are here, and the board is wide open, FYI. So little secret, shouldn't be a secret to anyone, that at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning is the best time, your best odds of getting on the air when you call in, because we're clear on things. So we're going to wait for the board to start lighting up. We're going to wait for you to give me a call. Anything you want to talk about regarding your home, anything at all. Construction concern, design issue, DIY question, whatever it may be, I'm here to help. And so let's talk about what's going on with your home today. So Misty is standing by, producer Misty, ready to take your call. Sam is on the board as per usual. Brian Baruman is at the news desk. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
How are you doing this fine Saturday morning?
I'm doing well. Working a longer shift than usual. Good to be here.
Well, that's good. A longer shift than usual. So how long are you working today?
Well, I've been here since 10 o'clock last night.
Oh, that hurts me. That hurts. It just kind of, okay. So when are you out? Are you done with us, or?
No, I'm gonna be. I'll be here till.
You're gonna be here till 10 o'clock tomorrow.
I hope not.
Okay. All right, buddy. Well, you're doing great. So hang in there. Have some more coffee or whatever your stimulant of choice, your legal stimulant of choice may be. Thank you, Sam. That's Tina's legal stimulant of choice right there. All right. My better half, truly my better half, my best buddy in the universe is sitting across the table from me. Also, Tina, the Wonder Woman. There you are. I'm turning on your mic. I turned mine off. Probably the way things should be.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, the phones are starting to light up here. We're just going to give a couple of seconds for Misty to catch up with the calls, and then we're going to be going to your calls. Just so you guys know, we just got back in yesterday. We were gone all this week. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this past week, and we were supposed to be in Florence because of my Italian wife celebrating her heritage and art and architecture and cultures. But we, COVID, and it's open. It's just not exactly as free as we want it to be. So we postponed that trip, and we decided to do something weird and adventurous, just a little bit out of the ordinary. And what we did was last weekend we hopped on a plane, ran up to Emeryville, which is in next to Oakland, on the East Bay. Emeryville Station is the Amtrak station where the California Zephyr takes off from California and goes 3 days and 2 nights. 3 days and 2 nights to Chicago. So we took the train to Chicago. It is purported to be the most scenic train ride in the U.S. And we would agree, it's got to be. How could it be? Amazing. How could it be? More scenic than what we saw. You go through a couple of flat states, but you actually hit those at night. So northern Utah, not the most exciting place. Southern Utah's got a lot of stuff. But northern Utah, yeah, and then Nebraska, corn, and it's just a gigantic cornfield, and so is Iowa.
But never fear, because you wake up to Iowa, so it's all good.
There you go. That's true. We actually slept through Nebraska completely, and everybody on the train was spectacular. So, not that they are listening, but a shout out to Daryl and Frank and Chris for making our train trip just stellar. It was the people working on the Amtrak train that was half of the joy of that trip. Plus, we went to a place full of fantastic architecture and Italian culture as well. So we got, it's not Florence, but Chicago is a stunning place, and I'm going to be sharing little tidbits if I get some time here throughout the weekend with you. Architectural tidbits, not just vacuous trivia, but things that you hear me talk about a lot. And I'm just going to use Chicago this weekend as a little bit of an illustration point for what makes good architecture, and translate that into why we preach what we preach about driving story and detail and all sorts of things like this for your home. Does that make sense? Can we do that this morning? Why not? So please, pour yourself a warm beverage. Enjoy this cool, almost fall morning here in Southern California. And when we come back, we will go to the phones, and I'll talk to you about what's going on with your home. So glad you joined me this morning. So much more to come. You're listening to Home with Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, Brian Baruman.
Police in Florida say they're trying to track down the boyfriend of a woman who went missing on a cross-country trip. His family says they haven't seen him since Tuesday. Comic-Con in San Diego will require visitors to show proof of vaccination or a recent negative test to attend next month. And a wildfire is burning within a mile of the giant forest grove of sequoia trees, and that includes the General Sherman, the world's largest tree. We'll have a look at trouble on the 210 next.
So you're ready to build your dream kitchen. That is fantastic. Here is what your first move should be. It should be a totally free in-showroom consult with the good people at the kitchen store, because you're going to get two things right up front, two things that you very much need. You need the creativity and the wisdom of an expert kitchen designer, and you need to be flooded with inspiration and information in the kitchen store's 7,000 square foot cabinet design showroom. There is really nothing like it in all of Southern California. They're right off the 405 in Culver City. For more than 50 years, the kitchen store is the best place for kitchen cabinets in all of SoCal. State-of-the-art computer design, same as cash financing with no payments and no interest for an entire year, and pricing, well, pricing that will beat the big box centers. So, start your new kitchen right. Set up your free consult today by dialing 310-KITCHEN. That's 310-KITCHEN. And check out the kitchen store on the web at 310kitchen.com.
From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, we make it easy. We're looking at a crash on the 210.
On the westbound side of the 210 at Cal now, with a fatal crash investigation here. All lanes are shut down. You're jammed all the way back to Mountain Avenue. Use baseline to get around that. You can also plan ahead and take the 10 instead. Fillmore on the eastbound side of the 210 between the 5 and Hubbard. All lanes have been shut down by Caltrans here overnight. They should be wrapping up this closure, but in the meantime, you can use Foothill Boulevard to get around that. And San Juan Capistrano, still all lanes closed on the southbound side of the 5 at Ortega Highway. This is the crash of an overturned big rig of a diesel. Still watch for delays starting at Junipero, Sarah. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robert Bucky.
This report is sponsored by Sam & Ash Injury Law.
Sam & Ash Injury Law, a personalized injury law firm. Decades of experience with a laser-focused client approach. Choose Sam & Ash Injury Law if hurt in an accident. A powerful team that is confident and wins accident cases. Talk with someone right now. 800-304-2000 or sam-law.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
My husband's ED was affecting our marriage. HIMS was our answer. HIMS connected my husband with a licensed provider online. He got medication to treat his ED at a fraction of the price of the name brand, delivered right to our door. Thanks to HIMS, we got our intimacy and our marriage back.
Right now, get your first online provider's visit free when you go to forhims.com/joy. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern, conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Ever since Duffy Power Services became a sponsor here at KFI, I have been getting a lot of questions about how home backup generator works, because Duffy are the generator people. So here's a quick explanation. Once Duffy evaluates your home, they're going to hook you up with the perfect generator to meet all of its energy needs, whatever that may be. Then, when the next outage occurs, everyone around you is going to lose power, but your generator automatically takes over, and your life continues uninterrupted. When the power comes back on, the generator knows that too, turns itself off. It's really just that easy. What's also easy is Duffy makes it affordable for you. 0% interest financing, payments as low as $72 a month, emergency power, totally affordable. Now, as you know, the pandemic still has things in short supply, including generators, so don't wait. Call Duffy today and let them make sure that your life, your comfort, your safety won't be interrupted during the next outage or any of the ones ever after that. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say Duffy Power, pound 250 Duffy Power, or find Duffy on the web at duffypower.com. That's DUTHIE power.com.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So, what's more important? A Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee. You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
Get your daily dose of California with the Times daily news from the LA Times. Join your host, LA Times journalist Gustavo Arellano, as he unpacks our world with a West Coast perspective. Listen and subscribe today at latimes.com/the Times or wherever you get your podcasts.
Someone uses your toilet and it overflows. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is for your guests and for you? Hello, I'm John Okoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. You're hosting a party, the water's on the floor, and your guest has to tell you that the toilet is backed up. And worst of all, you have to tell your guests that they can't use the bathroom. I shudder when I tell this story because it happened to me. Can you imagine? I own Rooter Hero Plumbing and my toilet overflowed. Talk about being humbled. Well, the truth is, it could happen to anyone. And the solution is to call 866-DRAIN-77. That's what I did, and our plumber was here within the hour. Not because I'm the owner, but that's just what we do. I'm so confident that you'll be satisfied with our services that I put my cell phone number on every business card. 866-DRAIN-77. That's 866-DRAIN-77.
Yeah, 102-8886. The Pink Floyd exhibition, Immortal Remains, now open through January 9th at the Vogue on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles. Immerse yourself in the band that changed music forever. Get tickets now at pinkfloyd.com.
For official rules and more information about contests on this station, go to KFIAM640.com/rules.
Well, hey, it's me, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The silly season is here. New iPhones are here, new products of all kinds. And I will give you the deets, give you my reviews, let you know whether it's worth spending your money on, plus answer all your tech questions. You know what? I do this every weekend. Why? I would love it if you'd stop by, give me a ring, or just talk about tech with us. It's kind of fun. The tech guy, Leo Laporte. Join me, won't you? I'll be looking for you.
Leo Laporte, this morning at 11. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
KFI, Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, with you. You are listening to Home, where every week we help you better understand that place where you live. It's an all-calls weekend for us here on Home. That means you set the agenda, you ask the questions, I try and come up with some answers that are helpful for you. The number to reach me at, 833-2-ASK-DEAN. 833, the number 2, Ask Dean. Give us a call, and let's talk about your home today. Anything you want. Construction issue, design issue, DIY question, whatever it may be. All right, we got some calls. Let's go to the phones as promised. Terry, welcome home.
Very nice to hear your voice in person. Okay, my question is, I have redwood beamed ceilings throughout my home, And some of them have been termite damaged. And I cannot find anyone who knows how to, well, okay, let me say this first. Some of them are interspersed with good beans. So those have to be taken out, the bad ones, and then again interspersed with the new beans. And I can't find anyone who knows how to do that.
Okay. All right. Look, wait, a couple of clarifying questions. Number one, is that a cat? Do you have a little cat there with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm just checking. That's an adorable sounding little cat there. All right. So when you say redwood beams, this is one of the things that I just want to clarify for everybody. It sounds like what you're talking about is a redwood tongue and groove ceiling.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a tongue and groove ceiling. That's siding. Okay, just FYI. Those aren't beams. That's redwood siding up on your ceiling there. All right. So here we go. Oh, it's a carpentry question. Nerd alert. Warning. Okay. I'm ready. I'm really ready. So here's the trick. Yes, you've got some damaged tongue and groove. Now this applies to anybody who's got tongue and groove siding of any kind, shape, form whatsoever. A lot of it on ceilings. And some of it's damaged, but the stuff around it isn't. So how do you extract in a tongue and groove ceiling, which by definition is interlocked, every piece interlocked with the next piece? One side of the siding has a tongue, which means it has a little, a little nubbin sticking out. The other side has a groove, right? And that has a tongue going into it from the next board. Here is how it's done. Number one, the boards that are damaged, even if it's one board in the middle of a healthy field and you just want to take one that's out in the middle, the very first thing that you do is you need to cut that board in half lengthwise, okay? So what we do is we take a small saw. We set the saw blade so that it's just the depth of the siding itself, all right? We don't want to cut through roof rafters or anything else. We just want to cut through the board. And I like to set a saw on a slight bevel, like a small angle, right? And then I'm going to run that saw all the way down lengthwise the center of that siding board. What that's going to do is two things. It's going to turn that one board into two. And the seam now that's in the middle of that board has no interlock. In fact, the fact that I cut it on a slight bevel means that I can slide a chisel or a pry bar underneath that one side and very easily pry it out. Very carefully pry it out so as not to put too much torque on the tongue or the groove, whichever side that may be. But I can pry that out now and slide it out because it's only half the width of the board. And then once that half is out, the other side can be pried out and pulled out too. Now the trick is, we got the damaged board out of the way. Now you've got you've got to get a tongue and groove piece of siding into a slot that is surrounded on all sides by wood. Okay, it's actually very simple. What you do is you're going to take your new piece, get it all cut and fit and ready to go up there, and on the back side of your new piece, you're going to take the on the groove side. Okay, you're going to take either your saw again or a utility knife, especially if it's redwood, it's soft wood, a nice sharp utility blade, and you're going to remove the back fin of the grooves. Okay, the back fin, because let's face it, that's the thing that's in your way, is the back fin of the groove. Not the groove on the front, but the one on the back. So that when you put the new board in, you can insert the tongue into its slot, and then as you start to flip the board into place, that back groove piece is not in your way. You will then be able to simply push the board into place, and you're going to have to do a little bit of face nailing with some small finish nails on the face, but that's okay, because you're making the feeling better. And then you face nail that board into place, and that, my friend, is how it's done. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But the key is, number one, cutting the board in half to get it out. Okay. so that it comes out in two pieces, lengthwise in half. And number two, taking off the back fin of the groove so that nothing stands in your way once you've inserted the tongue of pushing that siding flat against the ceiling like everything else. No one will know that you have done this. Only the board itself will know, and it'll last for